Here we go. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Today we're going to be talking about a tale of two stories. One, something fairly simple, but the next could be complex. Two stories, one, as I stated, being fairly simple. The second story could have long-lasting implications. Now, yours truly, I don't quite know if it's going to lead anywhere, but make no mistake about it, it is huge news coming out of Washington, coming by way of Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. But before we get into the more serious case, just want to ask you folks, it is now September 12th, the day after the memorial commencements, or whatever you want to call it, for the atrocity that took place on September 11th, some 22 years ago. Real quick, President Biden did not attend any of the ceremonial events marking that horrible day in history. And I just want to ask that question. Do you hold President Biden accountable to some degree for not showing up? It's been 22 years. Do you believe that every year we still should continue to have a lengthy ceremony, several hours long, by the way, where they're naming every single victim, 3,000 plus victims? Do you believe it should be a ceremony such as that? So do you hold President Biden or feel some weight towards Biden for not going to New York, doing anything in regards to the Pentagon or Shanksville, or I think it's Shanksville, Pennsylvania? He didn't attend any of the memorials. Do you hold him accountable in any sort of way? Also, that's the smaller story. Bigger news story, what's in the news? The notion that Kevin McCarthy is having some sort of an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Now, whether it's around his son, Hunter Biden, and some of those dealings, that's what it sounds like it is about. However, there are folks who suggested he was not doing his diligent duty at the border, and that also could be considered as violating his oath of office by not protecting the U.S. border. Yours truly, obviously I lean left. I'm just going to make it clear, Kevin McCarthy did not even hold the vote. So many are suggesting that he does not even have enough congressional, and remember the Republicans control Congress. Folks are suggesting that McCarthy does not even have enough congressional support to take a vote and get the even Congress, to agree to impeach Biden. Now, the liberals control the Senate, just like when Trump was impeached. It would go nowhere in the Senate. Just like Mitch McConnell shot down any impeachment of Trump, it would, for the most part, face the same fate. If they are successfully able to impeach Biden, it would face the same fate that the impeachment of Trump faced. It would just, for the most part, not even be entertained in the Senate. However, it is what is going on. So what I'm going to ask you folks, what I want to hear from the folks is, do you believe the potential impeachment of Joseph R. Biden is a legitimate impeachment? Is it potentially revenge for what happened to Trump? Or is it a combination of both? So I want to hear from you folks. As always, the program shall forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are always welcome on the program as well. The impeachment of Biden, is it a legitimate impeachment? Is it potentially something that is vengeful, or a combination of both? Ask you folks right off the bat, tap the screen. Get your boy likes up to 5,000. We'll go straight to the box. Understand we do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. If you disagree with the host, what do we always say? Nobody gives a damn. Not going to censor or limit you in any way, fashion, or form simply because you disagree with yours truly. Always observe your right to free speech. Going to the box. We'll start it right out with Ed. Good afternoon, Ed. Of revenge? Is it a legitimate potential impeachment, or a combination of both? Good afternoon, Ed.
Hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me on. Um, While I do, I would love to say that it was a legitimate 100% impeachment, and I do think that there is some things leaning towards the the possibility of it being illegitimate. I really do see it more as like a revenge attack, which is a
So
bad optics for the side that I'd be voting for, in my
yeah, because
opinion.
yeah, because obviously one of the biggest criticisms coming from President Trump is the politicization of government. And if you're suggesting it's revenge, then you're basically saying, yeah, Kevin McCarthy is politicizing Congress.
And I'd agree. And I think that he knows that enough people are red blooded within his caucus that he could get this to pass. There are a lot of, like, I guess you would call them soft Republicans, rhinos, whatever, in Congress right now. So I'm not sure if it'll even ever get past the inquiry. Because
Well,
there's a lot
let
of,
me
like,
ask you that.
Republican.
You make a good point with the statement soft Republicans, rhinos in Congress. I have to ask the question: is it possible that you could be a, as you say, soft Republican or a moderate Republican and still be referred to as a respectable Republican? Or does being moderate in this day and age make you a rhino?
Well, I mean, my personal views on government are kind of like skewed because I am like more of a populist. I don't like the idea of the uniparty that we had before, where it was basically just people trading favors. Like I think that the entire system needs an overhaul, and I think whether you're on the right or left, a lot of people feel that way. So I think that when you cohort with the basically when you're in the camp of either like neoconservative or neoliberal, it's hard for me to have personal respect, but it doesn't mean they're bad people or anything.
So So at the end of the day, so you do believe, just listening to what you're saying, that McCarthy is politicizing this impeachment process. So if he does that, where does it end? I mean, or do we expect the liberals to get back in there and then do it again? And I mean, back and forth where every president is all of a sudden getting impeached anytime we disagree with him?
Well, I think the scarier question really is and once again, I don't want to like get us off track or do any whataboutisms or anything, but like the entire Trump indictment, does this mean every time a Democrat gets out of office and a Republican's in office, they try to indict them over something? Like this open the nuclear option has been pressed. It's over
Yeah.
from now on. We're gonna need to either this is we're on the brink, man. Like
Yeah.
this is for
Well,
real.
let me ask you this. In regards to the Trump indictment, which is a slightly different topic, though, I mean, you do admit there are a host of Republicans that also support Trump being indicted, right? Whereas
Yes, yeah,
Biden,
yeah.
I don't
There
know
are
if you'll
many
find any,
Republicans.
I don't know if you'll find any liberal that will support Biden being impeached. But in fact, there were folks on the right that even supported Trump being impeached. But
Right.
there's plenty of them that support him being indicted.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this was always common knowledge, though, that Trump isn't a Republican. He's whatever he's doing. He's whole populist movement. It's literally splitting the Republican Party in half. That's why the Republican Party will be dead after this, whether he wins or loses. This is the type of thing that this is the type of thing that just doesn't heal. This isn't a flesh wound. This is dire.
So you believe Trump is actually bad for the Republican Party? Then, if you're
For the
talking about it's going
Republican
to be
Party,
split and
yes,
dead,
but I don't like the Republican Party, so it's good for me. Like, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I do think he's bad for the Republican Party. Like,
so then I have to. If you don't like the Republican Party, you support Trump, obviously, right?
yeah, yes,
So when we talk about liberals and we talk about Republicans, we know what principles they stand for, whether it's pro Second Amendment on the right or common sense gun law legislation on the left,
right,
protection of the sanctity of life on the right. What does the Trump MAGA party, what are the principles they stand for if you're not talking Republican?
right. Honestly, the number one that I uh, like enjoy is the idea of America first. Like that's the big thing for me, and by that I mean to not be vague. I mean making sure Europe and other countries pay their fair share, making sure we get out of any crappy agreement that we are in for, making sure that jobs come back here, make sure that immigration is at a set limit, which is fair, because I'm not anti-immigration or anything like that, but I think that it should be put into a chokehold until America's problems like the fentanyl crisis and homelessness in general is taken care of 100%. Because no one should be homeless in the richest country in the world.
And you
Uh,
don't, do you believe that the Republican Party is not about being America first?
no, I don't. I think that their corporate interests are more important to them than America's interests. I
So
think
then
it's
I'm gonna have to move, I got to move it on. But before I do, I want to ask you this question. And if you believe that both the liberals and the Republicans are not based on America first, who else in Washington? Because almost all of the Republican, or better yet, all of this, the Congress and Senate identify as either Republican or Democrat. Who else do we have in Washington other than Trump that's attempting to go that fits your narrative of being America first?
America first. I mean, it's hard because I know there's a lot of good-hearted people that I don't agree with because I'm not particularly evangelical or whatnot. So, like, and then there are people who are just bad optics, like Lord Boebert and whatnot, who are just,
Right.
unfortunately ill-informed people. But I do think that they do have the spirit that a more intelligent congressperson would probably be able to run with instead
Yeah,
of
but you're
just.
not giving me, you're not really giving me any names. Are none
I
of
think Jim
them?
Justice would be up there. I think Matt Gaetz would be up there. I think,
Okay.
to a lesser extent, MGT would be up there. And also, I think people like AOC and Bernie Sanders are America first in their own little way. But I think that it's.
That's a hell of a roster you just gave
Well,
me.
yeah, because.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC on the same team. Are we for real?
Well, I think it's really more about like trying, like, I don't agree with their concepts at all. I think that they're misplaced, but I do think that at the end of the day, when they go to sleep, they think that they're attempting to actually help American citizens, opposed to corporate interests and foreign interests and the such.
I like that. I like that. That's a good way of explaining it. All right, Ed. Appreciate you
All right,
coming
it's
in.
nice
I do
talking to
got
you,
to
man.
move
I
it on.
watch the show a lot, man.
Oh, thank you. Come on back anytime. You know what we do here.
All right.
All right, looking in the comments real quick. As you know, I was talking about two different topics. I didn't ask the last caller, but I probably should have. The smaller topic, outside of Kevin McCarthy having an impeachment inquiry on President Biden, and many folks suggest that they don't do inquiries unless it's going to lead to an actual impeachment. But the smaller topic we also are covering is the fact that President Biden did not attend a single 9/11 memorial yesterday. Obviously, yesterday was September 11th, the 22nd anniversary of that atrocity. Biden did not attend anything in New York, nothing at the Pentagon, and nothing in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So what we're asking is, was that wrong? Or has 22 years been enough to the point where we don't need to hold a several hours long memorial on 9/11 anymore? And I'm only asking. I understand some folks are like, what the hell? Never forget. Why would you ask a question like that? Well, at the ceremonies yesterday, and yours truly, I did tune in to some of them. They actually had victims being memorialized yesterday at the 9/11 ceremonies by descendants who were not even alive when it took place. So you got folks up there talking about, I never got to meet my uncle and things like that. So we're just asking the question, after 22 years, do we continue doing this, or does it transition on into their grandkids or stepping up? Like, at what point do you stop holding a ceremony every single year? For those who have lost loved ones, is it possible it could be traumatizing to have to be forced to hear about the death of your loved one every year? Most of us who have lost folks, I lost my mom in February of 2022 or 2021. I don't still, at a certain period of time, certainly 22 years from now, I won't be sitting there, going through this every year. That's a long time after a loss of life. I just can't. I mean, I obviously love my mom, but 22 years later. So that's what we're asking. I know it may sound crazy to ask about such an event, but I do want to ask you, do you hold Biden, or do you view Biden in a certain type of way because he did not attend? First president in history to not go to the memorial. Looking in the comments, maybe we modify how we honor that day, says Kimberly. I agree with that. Maybe once every 5 years or once per decade, you have a serious ceremony. I mean, it's year 22, so coming up at year 25, maybe year 30, maybe year 35. Because we lost a hell of a lot of folks on December 7th, 1941, known as Pearl Harbor, over 2,000 folks. We don't still hold major national ceremonies where you're reading off every soldier that died on December 7th, 1941. At some point, you're not going to continue doing it. So that's what we're asking is, how long do you continue doing it, and do you hold Biden in a negative light for not attending? Tap the screen, get your boy up to 15,000. There's 500 plus of you in here. Helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. Program always will remain MAGA friendly. And before I go back to the comment section, second topic is obviously, would Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, Congress side, holding an inquiry into whether they're looking into impeaching Biden, for lack of a better term. Is the potential impeachment of President Joseph R. Biden legitimate? Is it some sort of revenge or a combination of both? That's what we're discussing. Looking in the comment section, Martin Luther King has a holiday. No hate, good man, but same thing. No, that's the holiday for Martin Luther King is not in honor of his death. It is in honor of the man and his accomplishments themselves. We're not talking on Martin Luther King Day about the atrocity of what happened to him. I mean, he was shot in the face. That's not what Martin Luther King Day is about. It's an honor to the man and his accomplishments. So it's different than what we do on 9/11, at least in my humble opinion. Maybe some of you folks disagree. It won't matter. He will leave office for another reason, so he won't get impeached. Casey Lynn, for yours truly, I certainly can see benefit for folks on the left if what you say becomes true. Because there's a hell of a lot of folks on the left that may dislike Trump, but do not want Biden to be who we present as the Democratic nominee for 2024. If Biden steps down, I personally believe that another liberal, maybe a Gavin Newsom or someone of that sort, would get a hell of a lot more support from the Democratic Party. Because come election time, you're going to need folks to show up to vote, particularly Generation Z or whatever the hell, the younger crowd. And they're not interested in Biden. The younger crowd, while not favoring Trump at all, we're talking about the 25 and under, they don't like Trump at all. They're not very fond of Biden either. Gavin Newsom could probably energize that crowd. So if something stops Biden from stepping up and being able to run, and whoever the liberals put forward is still going against Trump, probably would be a benefit to the liberals. And by the way, I'm not just saying that to bash Trump, because I believe if Biden is the nominee and the Republican Party were to replace Trump with a more moderate Republican, I think it would be better for the Republican Party. Both candidates are very, very toxic, and they're both trying to propel both of these guys to be the next president. Looking in the box, tap the screen. Where are all of the active thumbs? I can't get 15,000 likes this early in the show. What the hell's going on? Show your boy some love. Tap the screen. Let's continue with the program. Mishi for change. Welcome back, Mishi. So, Mishi, of President Biden being impeached, revenge, a legitimate case for impeachment or a combination of both? What say you, Mishi?
Okay, so actually, I agree with everything you say. I think whichever party puts up a younger, new, vibrant candidate will win.
Yeah,
Biden's put up
100% agree.
okay, so I think that Biden should step down, and I think he should allow someone else to run. And I think Trump should sit down and let someone else run. Okay, so the McCarthy thing. I don't know. My Democratic friends may not love me for this. Go for it. You know, it's going to make the American people feel better. This is an impeachment inquiry. If they had the evidence, they would just impeach him. So if
No,
they
no, no.
want to inquire,
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt to say this. Unless Biden, just like with Hunter Biden, unless one of these individuals serves a bunch of years in jail, it's not going to satisfy the American people. If McCarthy gets an inquiry on Biden and it doesn't result in Biden being forced from office, folks on the right are going to say that something was in play, something prevented it from happening.
well, they're not going to be able to impeach him, right? They don't have the
Right,
votes, so they won't
right.
impeach him. But the only thing I heard on the news last night was that the reason why they want the inquiry is because it allows them, is my understanding, to be able to get his bank statements, Biden's, which they can't get for the Judicial Committee otherwise. So they need to have the inquiry to get more evidence. I say go for it. I also say if Biden did the things that the Republicans are accusing him of, then he should be held accountable.
I
So
will
I don't
tell
have a
you
problem.
this. Yeah, when you first said go for it, you know what I thought? Because just like most liberals, we want someone else to run other than Biden. We're like, hey, hopefully they find something so we can get our wish, another candidate.
I'm not that bad because I actually, although I did not vote for Biden, I actually think he is a moderate. We do not have a progressive president. I mean, you can tell that by his approval of the Willow Project. You can tell that by his strict border policy, which I know the Republicans aren't going to believe. But yeah, I mean, I don't think
Which would
he's
you
done
prefer?
a good job. He's done a good
Which would
job.
you prefer? Would you prefer a moderate or a progressive?
Oh, I always will shoot for moderates because I think moderates will bring us to the middle. And I think right now our country needs a moderate.
Now,
We're too
for you though, that makes sense because you did vote for Trump, right? Did you
I
vote for him
did
once or twice?
twice, my friend, twice.
Wow, wow. So you
Yeah,
voted for him in 16 and 20.
that's
But
correct.
now you're on the Biden train. What the hell did Trump do to make you jump from Trump to Biden?
Oh, well, you know, I always saw his persona and I was not a fan of a lot of the things that he said. I was a lifelong Republican. I voted on party lines. But it's when I started seeing a lot of overreaching government from other GOP members like Abbott and DeSantis. And January 6th was that was the final straw for me and watching his
Mm.
behavior. Um, and the fact that he couldn't concede, look where we are today. I mean, it's going to take a long time to recover from his
You
lies and deception. Yeah.
you sound like a Lincoln Project commercial. Like literally, there are commercials, there are ads saying exactly what you're saying.
I
I
haven't
mean,
seen them. I
even
haven't seen them.
even some of the DeSantis Never Back Down commercials is featuring Trump supporters that are saying that I like his policies and things like that, talking about January 6th and government overreach and saying we can't win if we put them back up. You sound just like those ads.
Well, I really don't. I mean, I actually will never say that Trump can't win. I am not in that camp. I believe that every vote is going to be needed to defeat Trump. His, as you've said, his followers are energized. I mean, they are energized. Biden voters they're only energized. Yes, some in support of Biden, but I think mostly anti-Trump. I really do
Yeah.
believe that.
I mean, I have never, well, I guess I won't say never, but it is incredibly rare that I get in contact with a liberal that's energized about Biden. They all hate Trump. I don't think I've talked to anybody, which is why I suggested that if the Republicans replace Trump and there's nobody for us to hate, we may actually vote. Some of us may actually either not vote at all or be willing to vote for that Republican submission. But as long as we got Trump to hate, we're probably okay.
I agree. I think Trump is the worst thing the Republicans can do right now. And I think a lot of them regret not impeaching him when they could so that he couldn't run. Now they have a monster that they can't control.
Yeah. But what about the way the country was being ran under Trump, though? Because I asked this on yesterday's show. What would America be like if Trump was president? I mean, we were actually not doing bad before the pandemic, right?
Well, I mean, he inherited economic boom and growth. I mean, the same with the, all that was on an upward trajectory when he took over. Now, that being said, listen, I don't think that Trump put forth a lot of great policies. I really don't. His handling of the pandemic was horrible. The Chinese tariffs were horrible. I mean, I don't.
You didn't like the hell. Even I like the Chinese tariffs. What didn't you like about the Chinese tariffs?
Well, it ended up costing hundreds of thousands of jobs for people here. And it was, we had to bail out our farmers, which that was on the taxpayers' money as a result of those tariffs.
Yeah.
They also, the people who have to pay the tariffs are the people who import. So no, it was not good. It was not good policy. You can look that up, anybody who wants to question it. And I just think he's not a leader. We were a joke globally. I mean, he got laughed at the UN.
So how do you respond to folks? How do you respond to folks who suggest that we had no military conflicts under Trump compared to Bush, Obama, and Biden?
Well, I don't think you're going to have any conflicts during a pandemic like that. And I mean, look, I don't know that he did anything to avoid conflict.
Well, yeah, but they believe that his simple presence made folks think twice before doing anything that would go against the United States policy.
Because he's crazy?
For lack of a better word, yeah.
I mean, we don't know because we don't know he's not stable. Yeah, I mean, maybe because he was giving Putin what he wanted by weakening NATO, and Putin felt like he could control him, and he could. That was really the only thing. And, we're not at war. He's
saying 24 hours he could end the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. You think there's any validity to that? 24 hours.
I think the only thing he would do would be to stop funding Ukraine, and then Russia would be able to take over what they want of Ukraine. He also said that the 9/11 attacks wouldn't have happened if he was president. He says a lot of things that are untrue and boastful, and if you really cared about the people of Ukraine, then as an ex-president, you could come forth and do what you could do to try to help and facilitate the end of a really bad war. But if I were Biden, I'd call him to that. Okay, you think you can end it, buddy? Go ahead. We'll send you over.
I could talk to you all day, but I do got to move it on. But I got one word to say to you, and I want you to elaborate. I'm going to give you one word, and you tell me what you think. The word is Vivek. What do you think?
Oh, no way. Absolutely.
Why not?
Vivek?
Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, yeah.
No. He doesn't. He buys into conspiracy. We cannot have a president that buys into conspiracy theory bullshit. Raise the age to 25 is unconstitutional. And I think, I mean, a civics test. I don't know. Are we really going to do that? I don't know. I have a lot of problem with Vivek, and I think that would be horrible as president. And the Republican side, I can't name somebody who I'd really support at this juncture.
What's your opinion of Chris Christie?
Chris Christie is part of the establishment, and the only thing I like about Chris Christie is he's standing up to Trump. Besides that, he's a regular run-of-the-mill GOP member. This is something you got to think about, Handsome. They're only putting up the wackies, right? DeSantis, Trump, Vivek are the top three. Now, when you look at Nikki Haley, when you look at Chris Christie, when you look at Tim Scott, those are more traditional conservative candidates. The party has gone so far right that they're putting up these loony bin
I
conspiracy
don't,
theorists.
something, I disagree. I disagree that DeSantis is a wacky. I think he's just far right. I don't think he's not deep in conspiracies or saying crazy stuff. He's just a far right politician.
He's a total fascist. So their two top candidates are fascists. That's how far right the Republican Party is right now. They are both fascist wannabe dictators. And so they're not putting up what I would say would be a traditional candidate. And I think they would win with a traditional candidate. I think they would win with a traditional candidate. If they put forth one of these others, I think that they'd have a better chance of winning. But they'll.
All right, Niecy.
That's
all right. I do got to move it on, but
hey,
absolutely. If I could talk to you all day.
Yeah,
you too. All right, looking in the I don't delay there, but yeah, definitely enjoyed talking to me. She actually has her own content pretty good as well. Now she leans left a little bit further than yours truly, by the way, which is unusual because she supported Trump, as she thinks twice. But it's always a good talk. Now I'm asking that question: do you believe the potential impeachment of President Biden because the Speaker of the House, I'm about to call him the Congressional Majority Leader, but no, the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, has opened up an inquiry into impeaching President Biden. And the question we're asking is it a legitimate impeachment? Is it possibly vengeful? Or is it a combination of both? Tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes, brings in more MAGA. We'd always say we don't block, ban, or censor any damn body for their commentary. You always get the right to speak here. You don't have to agree with the host. You don't have to lean right or left. The program does not have a moderator. We enjoy free speech. Nevertheless, the program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. Looking in the box, Pence is the best Republican candidate, but Trump ruined his electability with his lies. Fred Skin, you're not the only one I've heard say that. When you really look at the principles of the Republican Party, it's probably fair to say that Pence aligns probably more with the Republican principles than any of the other candidates up there. However, most of the Republican constituents nowadays are not going for those principles. They're kind of aligned with where Trump is going, a little bit further to the right, a little bit. Trump has certainly transformed the Republican Party. Certainly, the principles are not as important as some of the antics or behaviors or the direction of President Trump. I do believe President Trump is now bigger than the Republican Party among Republican voters. Looking in the comments, I think honestly, regardless of party, with how Trump's impeachment went, I think Biden's will go the same and probably will fall short again. Soup like Archangel on YouTube, I can't pronounce the name, but that's 100% accurate. There is absolutely no room in the Senate at all for a successful Biden impeachment, unless a hell of a lot of shit comes out that we have not heard yet. And by the way, I do want to point out that if for some reason Biden is impeached, no one on the right is going to be happy with President Harris potentially taking over. Understand that is where you're angling, is that if Biden gets impeached, you're potentially talking about President Kamala Harris. Younger, more well-spoken, no signs of dementia. I honestly think, and now that question came up, I want to ask you folks in the comments, whether you lean right or left, I don't give a damn how you answer, but we're asking for yes or no. Do you believe the Democratic Party, and I know a hell of a lot of my viewers are not Democrats, do not lean left whatsoever, but you can still answer the question by way of yes or no. Would the Democratic Party be more united and supportive of a President Kamala Harris for 2024 than President Joe Biden? In other words, right now there's like 60% of Democrats wishing someone else would step up to the plate and let Biden ride off into the sunset. If Kamala Harris was forced by way of impeachment to step up, How might that affect the way Generation Z views voting in the next election? 20, 30 years younger than Biden, at least 20. She just had her 50th birthday. Biden is 80. So 30 years younger. Obviously far better spoken, more alert. She's not going to trip over shit. So if for some reason Biden did get successfully impeached, which is what you heard me talking to the last guest about, when she said, yeah, go ahead and impeach Biden even though she votes Democrat, there may be Democrats that hope Biden is knocked out of the way because there's a hell of a lot of Democrats that do not want him to run in 2024 anyway. So by way of yes or no, would the Democratic Party be more united behind Kamala Harris than Biden? Moving on, looking in the box. We'll keep it moving with Electric Wolf 45. Good afternoon, Wolf. Is the potential impeachment of President Biden legitimate, vengeful, or a combination of both? Gabe, appreciate those shades. What do you think, Wolf?
I think I think it's legitimate because they're just going to look into it, which is the way it should be, not just be rushed because he had an orange face. And
No
if they
sign,
find some,
any vengefulness to it at all.
well, I don't think it's vengefulness. I think it's always they're gonna look at it as vengefulness because they're gonna say, well, because we did it to Trump. The only difference is that we actually have someone who's guilty now than we did before. Before it was just they were going after Trump, being vengeful because he won. That's why they did the impeachment. We all know that.
If there was not an excessive amount of hatred for President Trump, if he had never been impeached at all, was not facing 91 charges, do you think they would still be impeaching Biden?
I think so because, well, see, they kind of brought it on themselves because they're the ones that made us start looking at Biden too because of all the garbage they were trying to do by covering up the laptop, by interfering with the election, by doing all that stuff. They just made it worse because now people are all like, well, yeah, you kept all this stuff from us. I mean, now people want to know, well, exactly how I mean, we understand they're shady because they're politicians, because all politicians are shady. But this guy's downright selling out the country. And then we turn around and you guys made him president. So now, and then now y'all want to play kumbaya, like, come on, guys, let's get away. Let's get together and let's just heal this country. Get the fuck out of here. I don't want to heal you. I don't want to heal with you. I want you to admit, get down on your knees and say, we are sorry. We fucked up. And I'm sorry that we fucked up with the forcing vaccines and calling you, fascists, and like the previous caller calling us we're not fascists. Trump's not a fascist. Come on.
Well,
Antifa doesn't even stand for Antifa.
But here's the funny thing. You're saying that the Democrats called you fascists. Are you really complaining about Democrats name calling?
No, I'm saying the wrong name. The thing is, they're calling us what they are. Every single time they call us racist, they're the racists. They call us homophobes, they're the homophobes. They call us anti-Antifa, they're anti-Antifa. That's the name of Antifa stands for something that's not true. They're not anti-fascist, they're pro-fascist, that group.
So you made an interesting statement. You said they call us homophobes, they're homophobes. So do you see the Republican Party as an ally to the LGBT community?
No, I see them as an ally to the country, to Americans. We don't give a shit whether you're black, white, brown, red, gay, straight. We don't care. We just want to make sure that you have the best intentions of this country and that you succeed in this country the right way. That's how the conservatives are. We just have different kinds of opinions. Are there some Republicans and conservatives that don't believe in homosexuality? Sure, they have the right to. Are there some that hate people? Yeah. Are there some that hate black people? Yes, they should be Democrats. I mean, it's just that they're just in the wrong party.
But if you're admitting there's some Republicans that hate homosexuals, where are there some liberals that also have these same feelings toward the LGBT community?
There are more. That's just it. There's more of them. The problem is that you guys are pushing all the negative agenda, all the agendas that you want, and make it seem like, oh, we love everybody. No, you don't. You just want everybody's vote because you think they're all stupid. They think black people are stupid. They capitulate to everybody. Oh, trans people are men or trans men are women or women or men, however y'all want to play that. The thing is that you guys just go with everybody. Just try to just blanket everybody when you know you're a bunch of bigots. They're the biggest
Well,
bunch of bigots because they don't even think black people are smart enough and Mexican people are smart enough to think for themselves.
so then
That's
I have
bigotry.
to ask you, fair enough. So then I have to ask you this question, which you're saying that the Democratic Party do not believe that Hispanics or African Americans are smart enough to think for themselves. Why do you believe the overwhelming majority of Hispanics and certainly of African Americans continue to vote against Trump? They vote for Democrats. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think there's more Latinos that are voting for Trump because they have more like the conservative values in their
Yeah, but
cultures and
it's
stuff like that.
but
But
you're
but we'll
correct.
see.
Hold on,
Like
wait a
I
minute.
said,
Hold on. Hang on a second. You're correct that Trump is getting more Hispanic votes than, say, Bush or Republicans of the past. But when we're talking about more as opposed to who gets more than 50%, there is no chance of Trump getting 50% or more of the Hispanic or black vote. No one is saying that.
well,
Why
no,
is that?
but it's baby steps. You have to. I mean, not everybody's going to wake up at the same time. I mean, if let's say Trump is the nominee and Biden's the nominee, just for fun. Let's just say we're running Trump in a corpse. So then the thing is, and Trump gets 25-30% of the black or Hispanic vote. That's a lot of a change
But
from
why is it
7
not? Why is it not 50%? Why are so
because
many
it's not.
people not awake?
Because of the fact there's some people that are still drilled in their mind that the Republicans are the racists. The Republicans are the ones with the KKK. The Republicans are the Jim Crow. The Republicans were all bad when the Democrats are the ones that created all the bad shit in our country, and now they pretend that they're fighting against it.
So I have to. I get your
And I
point you're making,
apologize
but
for giving you facts. I apologize.
I'm willing to hear your facts all day long. But what I'm asking is, there's a hell of a lot of educated African Americans and Hispanics.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
yet, even the educated African Americans and Hispanics overwhelmingly still vote Democrat. If you take high school graduates or college graduates within the African American or Hispanic community, the numbers still say that well over half of them are voting Democrat. They're educated and they're still doing it. What gives?
Because like I said, they still can't get they still just because they're educated doesn't mean they know all the history. Now the thing is, like I said, I don't want 50, 60, 70%. I don't want them to follow us like sheep either. I want them to look at what we stand for and then turn around and say, yeah, that's the group I'm going with. And as long as it takes 20, 22, 27, 30, 35%, I'm in. Like I said, I don't
So
want sheep. All I want
yeah,
is
I
people
don't
to
want
realize that we're a better option.
yeah, I don't. No one wants sheep. I agree with you, but based on
Oh,
what
stop
you're
it, you do.
saying,
Stop
okay,
it.
fair enough. We can debate that, but based on what you're saying, where even though the folks have a formal education, they still are not awake. But when you
Yep.
look at the Caucasian community, for instance, Republicans always get over 50% of the vote, well over 50%. So is it a case where maybe African Americans and Hispanics are not as smart as whites? Whites
No,
can
not
clearly
no.
see
It's
the
just
Republican Party.
no. It's just a matter of, like I said, the black community. I hate to say it, they got snowed. They got snowed back in the '60s with the whole deal that they signed with them and the agreement and all that with LBJ, whatever. I mean, they got snowed. And the thing is, it's hard to come back and say, we were wrong, but that's okay. The thing is that it just takes baby steps, little by little.
But
Like I
why?
said,
But why?
the
But
Republicans are
Wolf,
not 100% perfect either. I'm not saying
Wolf,
that either.
Wolf, you're talking about the 60. You're talking almost 60 years ago. In fact,
Yep.
yeah, 60 years. Why is it
Yep.
taking the Republican Party so long to convince African Americans and Hispanics that they're in their best interest. 60
That's what.
years.
That's exactly when I first started talking to you. That's what I told you. The Republicans dropped the ball because of the fact that we allowed for the Democrats to do this to our fellow Americans. And we were like, okay, well, let them have them. Fuck that. That's where we screwed up, because now we're trying to say, hey, well, why don't you take a look at this? Well, why weren't you asking them for the look before? Because they took them for granted too. That's the thing. That's what I've always said. The Republicans have a hand in what the Democrats did because we allowed them to do that shit to our fellow Americans. No matter the color, we allowed them.
How do you respond to the fact that even a Republican Supreme Court has recently ruled that both Alabama and Florida was trying to squelch the black vote?
Like I said, I don't know a lot about it, but if they were and they ruled on it, oh well, they were. I mean, don't do it. It's because there's a lot of laziness. There's a lot of laziness with people because they're like, well, no, we don't want to work for it. People need to start realizing that we want our politicians to work for our vote. And it's going to be hard because...
How do you believe the African American community will view the fact that the Supreme Court, which is overwhelmingly Republican, 6-3, is admitting that the Republicans in Florida and Alabama were trying to stop the black vote? How do you think blacks will view that?
Well, I mean, they're not going to look at it in a good light, and we get what we deserve. We get what we deserve. If we lose the percentages in the black vote in that area, so be it, but they know who to blame. But that doesn't mean the black vote in Texas, the black vote in Iowa, in California, whatever, if it change, or New York, if the demographics change everywhere in all states, it can change in all states. And then eventually the stupid Republicans in Alabama will realize, you know what, we screwed up, or you know what, we're acting too much like Democrats. We need to stop being racist. That's simple.
So then I have to ask you this. Just about every major city in America, out of the top 50 cities, top 50 largest cities in America, only 9 have Republican mayors. Why is it that diverse areas just seem to avoid the party? Are they all sheep? All of the top biggest cities in America, I think you got to go to the 15th largest city before you find a Republican mayor. But out of all 50, only 9.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with mayors. They don't really run on party. But I'm here in El Paso, and I mean, we're nothing but a Democratic town. I mean, we vote Democratic.
Hold on. If you're saying mayors do not run on party, then where the hell does all this liberal city stuff come from?
Well, because they turn out to be liberals and then they run it into the ground. I mean, but the thing is, they vote for all these pretty pictures and they vote for all these presents and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they never come through. Look at the way this is just the way I look at it. Look at the way Democrats coddle criminals. And they don't give a shit about people who are scared.
Yeah, but you're pointing out stuff and countering your own point. So in other words, mayors do run on party. You see the mayor of New York on TV getting criticized all the time. The mayor of Chicago.
Oh, yeah, no. There are some that run on party, and I understand that. But the thing is, here, they don't disclose their party or whatever. They just run as a mayor or whatever. We don't give a shit about their party. El Paso.
Where are you at where the mayor doesn't disclose their party?
In El Paso, Texas.
And that mayor doesn't tell you what party they stand for.
No, I mean now we know he's a Democrat, but he used to be a Republican. But I mean, that doesn't mean nothing.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. But most of America, if you watch right-wing media, makes it clear that most of America's biggest cities do run on party because they're criticizing them constantly.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's true. I mean, and they do. But the thing is, like I said, they're coddling the criminals, and the people who live in the neighborhood with the criminals are just sitting there as victims, and we're like, it's okay. We're just going to make sure that this guy just doesn't do too much time. Come on, they're just running these cities into the ground. I mean, but hey, if that's what they want, that's what they voted for.
That's an interesting point because Trump is suggesting that if he gets reelected, he can get crime under control. Do you believe that the president can control urban city crime?
I think a lot of it is going to be, like I told you the last time with Trump, the economy and stuff like that. It's just knowing that he's there, because now liberal cities, when they get in trouble, they're going to be like, shit, we can't go cry to our dad. He's not our dad. He's not going to take care of us. And they're going to run out of money.
You would admit, even when Trump was in power and bragging about how great the economy was, he was criticizing liberal city crime at the same time.
Well, yeah, because he was letting all these people run amok, and they were letting all these people run and burn shit, loot shit, kill people, stab people, leave them dying in the street, and said, "Oh, but it was a mostly peaceful protest." That's your excuse.
So,
Mostly peaceful protest. Who cares? A
so
little
by
girl got
your
shot in a Wendy's drive-through. No one gave a shit about that.
so by your own standards, crime was still high under President Trump. You're blaming
Yeah,
Black Lives Matter, but you're
maybe he was a
admitting that even under Trump, crime can still be high.
Yeah, maybe if the Democrats would have stopped trying to impeach him and try to pass some policy with him, maybe we could have done that instead of lying about him all the time.
Fair enough. But so
God, I
you
love
are
my.
admitting though. So you are admitting though, if Trump is in power, he has nothing to do with controlling crime. Easily, as you stated, the Democrats can easily still make crime no matter what he wants to do.
Oh yeah, they're all criminals. They're good at it. But the thing is, I think he'll do something about it by giving them more money. I think he'll throw money at the police forces and stuff like that, and I think it'll calm everything down. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
All
But I
right.
think there's a lot he can do just by being the president, and people will be like, all right, all right, all right.
All
That's what I
right.
think.
Good luck on that. Wolf 45, you know what we
Good
always
talking to
do.
you.
Absolutely a pleasure. All right, look
Take care.
in the comments. Make it clear, folks. And by the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 35,000. I see. Just laughing. One word in the comments. User 263 says, wow. That's what we try to do here, folks. We try to deliver good content. If we can occasionally receive a wow, whether it's in favor or whether it's due to shocking content, it is what it is. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You don't have to agree with the host. This is always about First Amendment free speech rights. By the way, you can be anywhere you want to be on social media. It's always an honor having you here with yours truly. If you enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without worrying about the host blocking or banning you, you're in the right place. Follow the program. I invite you to follow us. We're here Monday through Friday. Doesn't cost you shit. Tap the screen. Yeah, appreciate that sunshine, the hat and mustache. Follow the program, tap the screen, get your boy up to around 40,000 likes. Y'all can do that. Looking in the comment section real quick. I always enjoy your dialogue. 13 Echo, thank you. And it's always an honor to have you here. That misinformation, what can we do about that? DJ, in regards to suggesting the last caller was delivering misinformation, you're going to get that from the left and the right. Even if you believe MAGA is loaded with misinformation, there's a lot of misinformation coming from the left as well. Both sides do it. Both sides do it. There's nothing you can do about that because there are powers that be on both the left and right that want to promote misinformation. Remember President Biden during the 2012 election? Yeah, Richard. Thank you for the hat and mustache. I appreciate that. Thank you. Remember 2012? Obama versus Romney? Biden stated Romney, of all people, was going to have y'all back in chains. Looking at Mitt Romney now, we're 11 years out from that. That's 11 years ago for that election. How many folks believe that Mitt Romney was going to have African Americans, Hispanics, minorities of any type back in chains? Compared to what is being presented on the right side of the aisle now, Mitt Romney is about as neutral as water compared to what you see on the right now. But yet Biden said he was going to have y'all back in chains. That's misinformation. That is misinformation. I didn't support Mitt Romney by any stretch of the imagination, but suggesting the man was going to have us back in chains is misinformation. Looking in the comments, or better yet, going to the box here. I do appreciate you folks holding on. We'll keep it moving with Will. Good afternoon, Will. Questions. One of the questions I asked earlier, we haven't been really discussing, was September 11th, 22nd anniversary was yesterday. President Biden did not attend any of the memorials. Whether we're talking New York City, where both buildings collapsed, whether we're talking Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where the plane went down in a cornfield due to a struggle by the passengers, or whether we're talking about the Pentagon. President Biden was not at any of those events. Do you hold President Biden accountable in a negative light for not attending any event to commemorate that atrocity? Or has it been just simply long enough that we should give closure to that and move on? Just
I
want to
think you
find
should
out
hold
from you.
him. Sorry, I think you should hold him
Go
accountable
ahead.
because under Trump, when 9/11, when every anniversary of 9/11, Trump went up there and said, "I honor the people that had lost their lives that day," and Biden won't say that, and it shows. It shows that was an attack on America. If you don't think he's not for the American people, Biden is not. I mean, you don't even say anything like that's very disrespectful, absolutely disrespectful, even if it's been 23 years to the people that lost their lives and the firefighters that went into the building and got crushed and some of them lost their lives, you know?
Do you believe he should show up every year at the Pearl Harbor? So, when they're memorializing Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, should he show up at all of those too?
No, but they do say
What's the difference?
they do say that we honor the people that had lost their lives at Pearl Harbor, right?
But we didn't lose. We lost 2,000 plus at Pearl Harbor, 3,000 at over 3,000 on 9/11. Why do you not hold him accountable for showing up at the Pearl Harbor Memorial?
Because that's just they can talk about it. They don't have to go there in person to
but I'm saying, what's the difference? They do have a memorial for Pearl Harbor every year.
Lost their lives that day. Whether it's just an honorable thing to do. It's simple.
I get your point that it's honorable. What I'm saying is, in Hawaii, every year on December 7th, they do have a memorial. You're saying you don't think he should show up to that one, but he should show up to the one on September 11th.
Whatever the president, and let's know that the president has a busy schedule too, and he might not want to make time. He doesn't have to make time for. I mean, if he wants to make time, that's up to him. I'm not in charge of Biden.
But you stated not showing up to the September 11th memorial was disrespectful to those who lost loved ones.
Absolutely.
How is it not disrespectful?
Well, they're both. It's an American thing in the Pearl Harbor too. But all I'm saying is saying that all that it needs to be said is a strong message that whether that was atrocious too. What happened in Pearl Harbor? Yeah, absolutely.
Then why are you treating them differently?
Why am I treating differently? Because I have actually a fair perspective on both of them. I'm just saying that it's very. It just shows his character. It shows Biden's character. It shows what he cares about. His actions speak louder than words. And apparently, he doesn't want to have any time to say, "Oh, well, I'm sorry for the 9/11 people that lost their lives in that day. I honor them," and that's all he has to say. I'm not a hypocrite, though. I'm actually a person.
But what you're saying, where you're confusing me, is you're saying that he should show up, or at the very least honor those lost on 9/11.
Correct.
But you don't have a problem if he doesn't honor those lost on December 7th, 1941.
No, they should honor Pearl Harbor too. And Trump did the same thing in Pearl Harbor when that came up, but Biden won't do that either. So don't act like he didn't do that when on December 7th.
So if he doesn't show up in Hawaii when they honor Pearl Harbor, do you see that as being disrespectful to those we lost in World War II?
Because if he talks about it and says he honors the people that lost their lives, shows some respect for what happened on December 7th, right? That's all we're asking. If he can do that, then fine. But he won't do that.
Here's where I'm confused. We've had a lot of atrocities. We can talk about Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City, for instance, 160 something people. How many
things?
Huh?
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about shootings. You're talking about Hawaii that happened. You're talking about recently in Maui, and but your president, Joseph R. Biden, said no comment. That was the first thing he said when a reporter.
I get that, but I'm trying to find out when it comes to September 11th.
Maybe he didn't know Hawaii was part of America. He's kind of an old man, and he's eating ice cream all day. He's not informed. He's obviously
Okay.
got dementia or something.
All right.
Anyway,
Okay. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me
go ahead.
get in here somewhere. Where I'm having confusion is you're ranking everybody in regards to September 11th has been killed by the United States Special Forces of Government, military. There's nobody left. How
Yeah.
long do you believe we should continue honoring that, showing up every year, reading off all of the names of the decedents? How long should that go on?
I think it should. I think it should just go on in our memory. I don't know. It's better to address it every time it was a terrible day. I mean, it just shows that's what we can come together as an American, as an America. That's very serious. And I don't know. Somebody was saying that Biden said something yesterday on September 11th, but I don't know if that's true if he did or not. But I haven't been keeping up with all the news
Okay,
on that. I
fair
don't know
enough.
if you know
Fair.
that.
So
But
let's move
I
on. All
just
right,
wanted to
let's
bring
move
up
on. In
something
regards
real quick.
to
Go ahead.
let's move on. In regards to
Yes, move
Trump,
on.
not Trump, in regards to Biden
Yes,
potentially being impeached,
impeach. Yes,
they're talking about holding an inquiry. Do
yes.
you believe the potential impeachment of Biden is legitimate, perhaps revengeful, or a combination of both?
See, here's the thing on that. I think it needs to be, we got to go through a process of an inquiry is means you're looking into everything before, Senator McCarthy said that, and that was 3 hours ago. Okay, so we have to take this one step at a time. It might take a month. It might take 2 months. I don't know. The evidence needs to be presented in court at or wherever they're gonna in the house. I don't know if we're gonna. I don't know the rest of us. We might hear. I don't think we're gonna see every little detail. I think they're gonna do it behind closed doors, like the Democrats did when
Wait
they
a
went behind
minute.
doors.
Wait a minute. We know folks had a major gripe, particularly on the right, when the Democrats did it behind closed doors. Do
Yeah.
you believe do you support
Well,
your own
well,
party
no,
doing it behind closed
no,
doors?
no. I don't. Now I don't support that at all. No, I want to actually find out. Well, okay, so it just started. So let's put the pieces together as we go and see what evidence they provide and see how people react to it in America and see how a lot of them said they wouldn't have voted for him if they knew he was actually involved in this Ukraine issue. You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. The media kept that away from us. But I just wanted to say all the snobs on ABC, when I was listening to them talk about it, they're just smirking and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. They don't have the votes." And like it's like a majority. It shouldn't
Yeah.
matter. It shouldn't matter if you don't. And they're like, they just keep bringing it up. They're smirking. They're like, oh, he doesn't have the votes, so it doesn't really matter. And they couldn't take questions from him. I just found it. I'm sure they're gonna grill the shit out of him the next few weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
McCarthy's gonna
Do
have
you,
to
I
lock him
mean,
in.
but I have to ask, and by the way, Buckeye 404, thank you for the hat and mustache. Yeah. Do you see any type of hope where Biden could actually be impeached? Do you think this will actually go anywhere when the Democrats control the Senate?
See, now what happens is it's the only thing. I don't think it's fair if it goes to a vote and no one and everyone just like and they don't have the votes. I just think he gets away with a crime if they don't have the votes. It shouldn't it
You
should
sound like a liberal.
look,
You
it should
sound like
be.
a liberal.
Now
That's
hold
what
on.
we said about
Okay,
Trump.
here's my thing. If the votes come out, I think if you did something wrong and you want to look into it, they should vote yes. They should actually look at the fucking evidence, and bring it to a vote and actually
You
vote
sound like a
and then
liberal.
go from
That's
there.
exactly what we were saying about the Senate when Mitch McConnell threw out the impeachment of Trump. You sound left, man.
I'm not left though. I'm actually smart thinking, sir. I'm not left. I'm not a
Okay.
lefty. I'm not a lefty at all.
But that's exactly what Mitch McConnell did. He did not allow it to go up for a vote in the Senate, just threw it out. Exactly what you're complaining about now
When
that
was
Biden
when
made.
when did he do that? What year? What year was that? 2016 or what was that? When Trump was in charge?
Yeah,
Somewhere.
yeah. The,
Okay.
the supposed Russian collusion
Oh, Russian
delusion is what y'all
collusion
call it.
collusion. Yes, Russian
But that's
collusion
what he
collusion.
did to the Russian
Well,
impeachment.
I
Is
don't
Mitch
know.
McConnell? Did not even let it come up for a hearing.
He did travel to Russia, but supposedly to meet Stormy Daniels is a prostitute. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say that there is evidence that he went to Russia, and there is evidence that he spent money on her. But I don't know. I don't know in too much of detail. There has to
Well,
be.
wait, hold on. The impeachment has nothing to do with
No,
Stormy
it has
Daniels. I know
nothing to
where
do
that's
with that.
coming up from.
It has nothing to do with Russian the collusion delusion. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
But but anyway, it was interesting. No, they actually heard the Russian conclusion delusion. Whatever.
Actually, to be
They
honest,
actually did, and
for
they put it out
clarity,
for
wait,
state
hang on a second.
for
For
standing.
actual clarity, the actual impeachment was about the phone call to Ukraine trying to get dirt on President Biden. That's actually what that first impeachment was about, is that they wanted the Ukrainians to give dirt on Biden before they would help out Ukraine. That's
And
the
if you look at the
actual.
phone call and hear the phone call, it's a perfect phone call. There's nothing that he says that is hypocritical. You can actually listen to that whole damn thing and see that he was a responsible person over the phone. I'm not saying that he's innocent at all. I mean, we have a court case on Trump. We'll see what happens. I mean, Trump has impeachments, and we'll see what happens there. If there's anything that happens, then if he gets convicted, then
Well,
certainly
let
that
me
can
ask you
happen.
this before I move it on. Trump is also referring to that find me 11,000 votes. He's saying that was
He
a
didn't say
perfect
find
phone
me
call too.
11,000 votes. He said
Okay,
there's something wrong with the counting here in Georgia. He said, why are these votes not here? Now, I don't know if he didn't refer to votes for him. He just said he didn't say find me 11,000 votes. He didn't say that in the correct word. He just was
okay. He said it
I
was a perfect phone call. Do you think that call to the Georgia officials was a perfect phone call too?
not too sure on that.
I gotta
I
move it
mean,
on, Will. Good
go look up
conversation.
Go look up the one that he had before you come. Go look up the whole phone call that he had in when he had talked to Ukraine. In Russia. You see, he tried to find dirt on Hillary, and I don't blame him for actually finding all the dirty crap that Hillary did. So I think WikiLeaks exposed how shitty a
Are you
candidate they
wait
put
a
up
minute?
there.
Are you using WikiLeaks as a source? I mean, do we with that
Yes, I'm
Wikipedia,
listening to
but
WikiLeaks. What's wrong with that? Because that was a lot of that stuff was actually facts that Hillary Clinton and look when Hillary Clinton did that whole Benghazi and the servers they destroyed a lot of the evidence there.
well, shit.
So
Why didn't Trump, who suggested that Hillary Clinton was crooked and corrupt and had created a bunch
yeah,
of crimes, and then he served 4 years for president? Why didn't he do anything about her if she's that damn corrupt?
maybe he has class and he's a man of
Maybe.
God and doesn't. Maybe he's a man of God and doesn't believe in punishing someone that is evilly corrupt. I don't know. That's my guess. God's leading him the way. God is leading
Maybe.
Trump the way.
Maybe he dropped the ball. Is that a possibility?
Uh,
Take your time.
possibility.
Okay.
I think it was for all good and fun to Hillary Clinton. You saw the comedian. Did you see the roast he did on Clinton? They were kind of. I feel like it wasn't. I don't feel like Clinton hates him that much. I think it was all for show. He fooled the American people, and those people that are saying that real quick, those people that are saying that Donald Trump is a Democrat. There's no evidence of that. That's the dumbest thing because there were so many people saying that he was for a Democrat party, but the Republicans can't figure out that he's actually no.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
I
ridiculous.
agree. I don't argue with that at all, but I do got to
Okay,
move it on.
all right.
Appreciate you
Thank you,
coming in.
bud.
Yeah, I agree with the last caller. I don't see any suggestion that Trump is a Democrat whatsoever. There's no way in hell in 2023 you're going to convince me that Trump is a Democrat. I do understand he stated back in the 80s, I believe on Oprah Winfrey, that he identified as a Democrat, but those times are long gone. Back then he was bragging about how great he thought the Clintons were as politicians. It's a different guy. Which is why I often use that example. And by the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 45,000. You guys are lazy on the thumbs all together today. I'm trying to deliver good content. Get your boy up to 45,000 likes. But one of the comebacks I often mention when folks ask the question, African Americans really like Trump, the rap community really like Trump. Why the hell did you suddenly start disliking him when he became president? And I respond often with all of those things that he said he identified as a Democrat. He talked about taking away rifles or taking away assault rifles. He hung around Jesse Jackson. He hung around Al Sharpton. Why did folks change when he became president? He's a different guy. He's a different guy than he was in the past. He's not running on the same things. The Trump of the past would not have been affiliated with Ron DeSantis and folks like that. He's a different guy. So that may have something to do with why folks favored Trump before he became president, and they changed once he got in the White House. He's not acting like he acted in the 80s. He's not defending the same principles in politics he would have in the 1980s. You think Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, or even Bill and Hillary Clinton would be associating with Trump based on what he says in modern times? No, they wouldn't. He's a different guy. Now, you may favor that, and you have a right to do so. Nothing wrong with that. But he certainly is not running on the same politics he did back when all of these folks liked him. He represents a different crowd. By the way, how many folks that support Trump identify as MAGA have a favorable view of Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, or Bill and Hillary Clinton? Virtually none of them do. So clearly, he is a different guy today than he used to be back then. That is a huge part of why folks view him differently now than they did back then. Looking in the box, we'll keep it moving. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Ninerman 319. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. The potential impeachment of President Biden. I don't know what's happening with my call. We'll keep it moving. My last caller doesn't seem to be coming up. Trump lies about everything and never delivers, says be the GOAT. That's not true. Obviously, they've been able to secure a reversal of Roe v. Wade. That only happened because of Trump. 6 out of 9 Supreme Court justices. Now, some of that is Mitch McConnell, but it happened under Trump's watch. Trump has delivered on some of the things the Republican Party wanted. They didn't get the wall. They didn't get a repeal and replacement of Obamacare. They're never going to get the swamp drained, but he did actually take the country in a rightward direction. Absolutely took the country further to the right. So he did deliver for folks who support Trump. There's a lot of folks who want the country, Christian values, traditional values, the founding fathers intended, that want that direction. And there's no doubt there is a hell of a lot of folks that support Trump who would be considered as far right. And he's taking the country in that direction. So he did deliver to some degree, just not what you may favor if you lean left. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Ron Wolford. Holding on. Appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Might get your boy up to 50,000 if your thumbs are not lazy. Ron, good afternoon.
Hey, how's it going today?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. We're looking at Biden potentially facing an impeachment, certainly an inquiry. Do you think he's in trouble?
No. Like I said,
why are they doing it?
It's like tit for tat. They went after Trump, and Trump actually deserved to be on trial for impeachment. Biden haven't did nothing. They want to think that he's doing something, but they can't prove it. Biden crime family, they want to look at his bank accounts. For what? Biden provided all that when he first started running. He's been running for 20 to 30 some years. So, feel free to look.
So you do believe that the potential impeachment, or at least the inquiry of Biden, is based on revenge?
That's it. That's all. A revenge. Revenge. Like the last caller came up. I mean, he knew little to nothing about what's going on in government. He don't realize Hillary Clinton went on several hearings with the Senate and Congress, and they found nothing.
Yeah.
And she didn't. She
Well,
didn't.
my response to my last call is what I usually bring up to most folks when they criticize Hillary Clinton is that if she is as guilty as folks are suggesting, then you got to hold Trump accountable. Now, he stated that Trump is a man of God and decided to give Hillary Clinton a pass. He just decided to go all around the country yelling, lock her up. But him being a man of God led him to not do anything about it. I don't know what to say with that, but
Which
that
God?
is what he said.
Which God?
Oh shit! You
Which
don't
God?
you don't think you don't think Trump is a man of God?
See, Trump think he's God. How will he be a man of God? He thinks he's God, and his followers think he's God. I mean,
Mm.
this is one thing I think about Trump. What would happen is once Trump goes to jail and loses the election, I think, and I hate to say this, I'm thinking you may have a bunch of suicide or people that will probably take their life like they did for David Koresh and Jim Jones if Trump tell them to, because that's how deeply embedded they are to this guy's following. He's a cult leader, and no one thinks he does anything wrong.
That's scary. You actually believe that if Trump doesn't become president, people may take their own lives?
And ours too. I can see a suicide mission, but like I said, he got millions of followers, but I don't think it'd be that many people. Maybe just a few thousand. A few thousand is dangerous enough because
What the hell is Trump offering to deliver that would disappoint you to the point where you would kill yourself? I
well,
mean, a good economy. I mean, I saw folks or heard of folks jumping out of high rises when the stock market crashed, but were we living that great when Trump was in office that you would rather take your own life?
it's the point is like that. Is Trump tell him to? Because Trump to have people to go in and try to overthrow the government. Trump, once Trump is backed up in the corner, he has nothing to lose once he's on his way to jail. He's not going to win the presidency election. So people then would probably start doing suicide missions for him. But also at the same time, we stop and think about it. You know, Trump. Trump. They really have nothing to lose.
Your
So
life? I mean, Trump has a maximum of 4 more years he can serve. That's it. He can only serve 4 more years unless he pulls some kind of dictatorship shit or something like that. But is he really offering so much that you would rather die? I mean, that is outrageous. You really think it's that bad?
not for everybody, but for a couple of people. Because if you stop and think about some of these mass shootings lately, they have been done by what? White supremacy against people they don't like. These people are Trump followers as well.
Yeah.
So So if you just look at the evidence that's out there, going in Walmart, shooting black people, churches or whatever, and you think about the Proud Boys, all those guys went into this U.S. Capitol, armed. They didn't take no lives. Police, beat up police. They have no problem with going to jail for him. They are going to jail for him. What, over 600 people convicted for him. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I will say this, and I will respond to that by John Mosby in the comments. You said, "Do you see people saying yes?" Yeah, I do. It's crazy that, yeah, a hell of a lot of folks in the comments agree with you that folks are willing to give up their entire existence out of disappointment, anger, or whatever you want to call it, because Trump doesn't get reelected in 2024. I mean, are we looking at an actual cult? What
well,
what is it?
think about Jim Jones, David Koresh.
Yeah.
These people took their lives with no problem for these dictators. I mean, for these cult leaders. Trump is doing the same thing. When you fail to reason with anybody, when you can't even go and do a debate, a serious debate without saying y'all lying, y'all just like Trump's a Christian and all that. Trump ain't no Christian. Like I said, I'm
No, I
not going
don't.
to judge nobody, but still, he don't have no Christian ways. If that's what Christianity is all about, count me out.
Mm. So let me ask you this. How did we get here? Trump was a real estate mogul, successful businessman, went to, hosting The Apprentice or what. How did we get to the point where he has, in your opinion, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cult-like following? What did he do to get this?
He offered them hope that they didn't think they had anywhere else.
Hope for what?
Whatever it is they have. Trump hates the people they hate. He hates the things they hate. He beats the drum for the forgotten man, whoever think they're forgotten. Because if you stop and think about all the Trump supporters that come into your life, they all talk and sound alike. Most of them.
Wow. So
You
let
get
me,
a few of them that
I
try
guess
to reason with you, but some don't.
what about the Republican Party that is actually in power in Washington? I'm talking about the Republican Congress, Republican Senate. Do you see them too as cult-like in power?
Well, they support Trump because they support Trump and the racist people because that's how a lot of their base is built up on that. They don't say nothing bad about it because if you stop and think about some of the racist stuff that go down that's high profile, the Republican Party is usually the last one to come out and denounces it. They got to be pressured into denouncing it, whereas the Democrats come right up and say, "Hey, this is wrong, we don't do this." But the scientists out there have to be pressured into coming out making a statement against high profile racial stuff. Now the Republican Party is based and built on racism at this point in time. And so, yes, they're not
So,
going to say nothing bad. They're not going to say nothing to mess up their base because they will crumble and fall down. Because right now, that's probably what's holding them up and keeping them in the running. The
so
Republicans
then
need
we
to
have
just
to
start over.
we have to pose the obvious rebuttal to that. If you believe that his party is basically developed off of racism, when you look at the black community, hell, even the Hispanic community, more African Americans and Hispanics voted for Trump than any other Republican candidate in our lifetime. Where we talking about Romney, or we talking about McCain, or Reagan, or Bush? If he is based on racism, why is his numbers with African Americans continuing to increase?
You always had happy campers. Even during slavery, they became sharecroppers. You always had a
So
happy
we
camper that's always going to do something. You always
happy.
got a person that snitches and tell everything because he think he's going to be part of the class that moves forward by hanging on to somebody like that.
And the phrase you use, happy campers, I've never heard that used that way. Happy campers.
Well, I'm trying not to use the house N word, happy
Well,
campers.
I think this one sounds just as bad. So, what about the notion that Trump has done more for African Americans than anybody else? You hear that all the time. He done more for blacks than Obama. So you don't agree with that at all?
Oh no, definitely not.
Okay.
First of all, Black Americans got to do things for themselves, no matter who's in office. All Black Americans want, at least this Black American, I just want opportunity. I don't need you to give me nothing because I have survived on the Reagan. That's when I became an adult. Under Reagan, from here on, no matter who was in charge, I was able to provide and care for my family, in comfort. But
All
yet,
right.
some people are not. Some people can't do that, so they do. They need a little bit more opportunity than most.
Amen to that. Well, last question before I move it on. Obviously, Trump, despite your description of him, still has a legitimate chance to become our next president. If he is reelected, what do you think America would be like? I mean, we did have a good economy under President Trump. If he gets reelected, considering how you're describing him, what do you think America would be like?
Oh man, it'll be tough. I mean, something will have to give. It's going to be something major, and I would hate to think like that, but it will. I would just have to suck it up for 4 years and hope we still have a democracy when it's over.
So you do believe he's a threat to democracy?
Oh, major.
Damn. All right. I got to move it on, Ron. You just depressed the hell out of me, but
But hey,
you're
bro,
always welcome
I'm
back.
thank you.
That's some strong stuff.
I thank you for letting me on, and I'm glad your live haven't got suspended just yet. Seem like I always get on them, and they usually go away for some reason.
It does happen. It does happen. But today we made it happen. I appreciate you coming in, man. Come on back anytime.
Hey, I appreciate you letting.
Looking in the comments, we don't have a democracy, says deep state to death. Damn. Well, republic, democracy, whatever you want to call it. All right, fair enough. Armstrong, gas $1.89 a gallon. Dems, leave him alone. Lots more good. Now, I have to ask this question because that is President Trump's number one claim to fame is that the economy, inflation, and things like that were far better in America under Trump than they are under Biden. What about unity? Is that something we don't care about at all? Because we can talk about Biden, we can criticize Biden any way under the sun, but there's no one suggesting that President Trump was trying to unite America. Is that not important as long as the economy is good? Or are you one that believes President Trump was trying to unify this nation? I'd be curious to see that. Biden, the great divider, says J. Doe. Well, in my opinion, if you are a true blue supporter of Trump, if you are MAGA, anybody that gets elected that is not Trump will be a divider. And I'm not just talking about Biden. All of those Republican candidates that are running for office, maybe with the exception of Vivek Ramaswamy, because he's doing nothing but singing the praises of Trump, if any of those other folks get elected, they're going to be divisive to MAGA because you don't like them folks either. We're talking about the who else is up there? I can't think of the female's name. I'm drawing blanks. Nikki Haley is who I'm thinking about. Obviously, you have no love for Chris Christie, no love for Ron DeSantis. Tim Scott, okay, maybe, because once again, he's for the most part singing the praises of Trump. But any of those folks that are running that are critical of Trump are going to be divisive to you as well. So it's not just Biden. I don't know how you unite MAGA without electing Trump, unless you elect someone that is very favorable to Trump. MAGA and that person is not going to get along together. I don't know how else you can do it. But I'm willing to admit if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me know. Looking in the comments. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 70,000 likes. Civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, if that's what you favor. Appreciate if you would follow the program. We do this Monday through Friday. We let the people speak. Program is and always will forever remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are always welcome on the program as well. We make it happen without even having a moderator. So understand free speech, First Amendment rights reign supreme here. You don't have to agree with the host. Nobody's going to limit your time, try to silence you or block you from the program because you lean right or you lean left or you disagree with the host. We don't do that shit here. You're allowed to speak. Looking in the comments. I love that hat, my man. I got to get another one, by the way. I'm trying to find the 45, 47 for the sake of the show. Also, sometimes we wave the Trump is right hat. Sometimes when it comes up. If Trump divided Americans, it's because some of us don't believe WWF is real. What is WWF? What is that? Now, I'm not talking about Vince McMahon back in the day, Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Hulk Hogan, my Magamaniacs. What you going to do when my Magamaniacs get their hands on you? Now, what does the WWF stand for? If Trump divided Americans, it's because some of us don't believe WWF, as in Frank, is real. What does that mean? Moving on. Appreciate you folks. When was America great? Tell me. I'll go to the box after this. I say this all the time. Obviously a reference to the slogan on the hat, Make America Great Again. A lot of African Americans, a lot of minorities, folks that lean left ask, well, hell, when was America great? Well, it depends on who you ask. Some folks would say that America was great when we actually observed and cared about the nuclear family. Mom and dad was home together. The kids ate dinner at the actual table. Whether it's Christianity in schools, a hell of a lot of traditional values. When we actually observed those in America, identified a woman as a woman and a man as a man. I know I'm sounding right, but these are the times when a lot of folks thought America was a greater nation. But when was America great for everybody? Folks who look like myself? Never. The slogan wasn't meant to address people like me. That's my answer. Feel free to let me know. All right, going back to the box. We'll keep it moving to Keisha Blue. Always apologize conversation. Good afternoon to Keisha. President Biden potentially facing impeachment. What say you?
Let me tell you something. Some of the Republicans have already said they have no evidence. So what they're doing now is playing the get back game. They're
So it
just
is
trying to,
revenge.
they just trying to impeach Biden because they impeached Trump. But on that last impeachment for the January the 6th, when Mitch McConnell didn't, get the vote, didn't want the votes to go to convict him, after that,
Right.
he stood up and said that
Yep, you
this is
can get
not
them for anything.
Congress's job. It is the job of the Justice Department. And basically what he said was they need to investigate because he is guilty. Mitch McConnell said that out of his own mouth.
I don't know if I heard the part about because he is guilty, but he did say everything.
I said he basically said. I didn't say he
Okay.
stated it. I said basically.
All right.
And if you could hear that
Okay.
when he spoke, then you weren't paying no attention.
Well, he did indeed say something similar, which is everything Trump did while in office, he can be held accountable for as a citizen. He did say that. You are correct. And
If
that's
you
what's
go back
happening.
and listen to him talking about it's the job of the Justice Department to investigate him, and you got common sense, you can hear him basically saying, because he sure enough did it. Now, I want to say this about the ones who said that Trump is a Christian, my Lord, and that he was such a Christian that he didn't want to go after Hillary Clinton. We talking about a man that said when he get in office, he gonna be on a revenge tour. And I know my Bible says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, I will repay. That means we ain't supposed to be trying to get revenge on folks. It also says that you're supposed to pay your debtors, and Trump don't pay nobody. And he ain't out here preaching the word of God. He ain't out here spreading the good news of Jesus. So how is he such a good Christian?
I don't have an answer for that.
He stood
In
outside
fact,
the church with a Bible upside down, but you such a Christian. You couldn't give nobody a Bible verse that you like. You said that was personal. When has the word of God been spoken out into the world personal? Because he didn't know
I
him.
normally
He didn't know
can.
him.
Yeah, I normally can play devil's advocate and see other side. In regards to this, because he also stated that he has never in his life asked God for forgiveness.
Now,
So
how you a
I
Christian?
don't have a defense for that.
How you a Christian and you don't even ask the Lord for forgiveness?
Yeah.
Like
I
you
don't have a
perfect
defense for that.
and ain't never did nothing in your life. And I agree with the last caller. Let me tell you this. I truly believe if he go to jail, that it's going to be some suicides committed. Because when you look, listen to me, and I'm finna tell you why. Because when you look on these apps, and you see, I saw one woman, President Trump, please come save us. We need you, President Trump. These people have put all their hopes and their dreams in this man. And if anything happened to him, I truly believe that they're not going to be able to survive out here. And that's just my belief.
But here's what I don't get. Yeah, and you're not the only one that believes that. But here's what I don't get, Takesha. What are they expecting for? Okay, we get it. Let's say we get a decent economy back and some cheap gas or whatever. But what are you expecting that's so big, so enormous that you would rather die if you don't get it? What are they anticipating is going to happen?
Handsome, they don't care nothing about the economy. They don't care nothing about the price of nothing. The only thing these people care about is Donald Trump getting back in office talking to people, saying stuff, and empowering them to be racist that's out in the open like they have been when he first got in office. It has nothing to do with gas prices. It has nothing to do with food. As you can see, the Republicans have held what have held the House. They ain't even addressed none of that. They just out here talking about impeachment. Jim Jordan out here doing investigations that don't make no sense, trying to go after Funny Willis. And I'm so thankful she got him when she told him, basically, you don't even have a degree. You're not a part of the Bar Association. So go buy a book that you can learn about the law because you don't know it because you didn't graduate from nobody's law school, nor did you pass the bar. You went out there and printed off you a certificate and called yourself a lawyer. So what I'm saying is this. They don't care nothing about what's going on in this society. They just want to be empowered. And that's all
So
it's about.
you really believe the strongest draw to Trump is rooted in racism?
It's rooted in we going to say what we want to say because we got a president that has empowered us to be racist. When have you ever seen so many Karens in your life? You haven't. When have you seen so many of the other people on the other side come at black folks like they've been doing? When have you ever seen that?
So how do you respond to folks who are always saying that it's Biden with the crime bill, vote for me, you ain't black, the Democratic Party was the party of the KKK? How do you respond to that pushback?
You already answered that question when you said that people don't like Trump now because when he was what he was, they was liking him, but he changed. So all of that changed. So there's no use in still bringing up the crime bill. Who want to keep talking about something from 1974? In 1974, I was 0 months old. In 2023, I'm 48. Nothing stays the same. Things change. Yes, a lot of them were racist back then. But when you learn better, guess what you do? You do better. And he has apologized until the man is blue in the face, and the little orange man still ain't apologized for nothing he said or did. Give me a break on that.
So I have to ask you, you say Trump hasn't apologized for anything he said or did. What has Trump did in your opinion that's racist?
All the stuff he did listen, all the stuff Trump did towards black people, not wanting to rent to him, not wanting him in his college, what he did to those boys, took out that full-page ad, swear that they, was guilty.
Central Park 5.
Yeah, and then after they were found innocent, you doubled down. If you had came out and said, I am so sorry for what I did to those young men, I was wrong, guess what? Nobody wouldn't even be calling him a racist. But he's never apologized for anything he said towards or did towards the black community. Even if the apology is fake, give it.
But what's the black community? If you want to suggest that Trump is racist and has all of this hatred in him, was the black community really faring that bad during his 4 years in office?
Wasn't the same benefits that the black folks had, the white folks had it too. What did we gain as a party? What did we gain as a race that nobody else gained from?
Yeah, okay. Well, you don't expect that to happen.
I'm asking a question.
Nothing.
If he did so much for black people, what did we benefit from that nobody else benefited from?
Well, no president is going to only help one group of people.
But I'm asking a question because I'm sick of them saying that Trump did more for the black community. What did we get that nobody else got that can make me say he really did something for just the black community? I want them to stop saying that because it's not true.
So let me final question I want to ask before I move it on. Do you believe African Americans of 2023 are doing better or worse than they were under the Trump administration?
I think we're doing the same. Minimum wage went up. That helped some black people because most black people ain't underpaid, working in jobs that didn't pay nothing. So minimum wage went up. That helped some. But how are we doing better? Or how are we doing worse?
Yeah. All right, fair enough. I do appreciate you coming on. You always bring your A game. Anytime. moving on with the program, why does it have to benefit only the black community? Is that not racist? In my opinion, which is what I was suggesting to the last caller. Yeah, it would be. And I bring this up because folks often suggest on the right that Obama did nothing for black people. And my pushback every time is that if Obama had got elected and started doing a hell of a lot of things for black people or for the city of Chicago, folks on the right would be saying, we didn't elect a president of black people. We didn't elect a president of Chicago. We elected a president of the United States. But because he didn't do anything for blacks or specifically for Chicago, they hold him accountable, knowing they would have criticized him if he did. So you're not supposed to be president doing things specifically for one group or one race of people. Even with President Trump suggesting how much he did for black people. If if Trump was, or I can't get my names right, if Obama was president of America, walking around holding rallies, bragging about how much he's done for black people, folks would call him a racist. The same way if Trump or Biden was bragging about how much they do for white people, we would be calling him a racist as well. So the whole notion that Obama didn't do enough for black people, he wasn't put in a position to do that. He wasn't expected to do that. That would, yes, be racism. Specifically doing things for one group of people. Looking in the comments, that's my point. The talking point is racist. Exactly. You're right. I agree with that, Takesha. Trump was doing a whole lot for blacks long before he was president, though, says Christina Kirk. Yeah, he was hanging around them, too. He was hanging around the likes of Al Sharpton, the likes of Jesse Jackson, and speaking very favorable and doing things with black people. All of a sudden, once he became president, a lot of these black people became public enemy number one, which is why I state, I don't know if you got in the program later on or if you were around earlier, but I did state in regards to the question, why are so many folks viewing Trump differently now that he became president than they were before, talking about minorities, he changed his tune. Trump was a different guy back in the 80s and 90s. Talked about banning assault rifles. Said he identifies as a Democrat, hanging around Oprah Winfrey, as I mentioned, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. He doesn't do any of that stuff now. He speaks horribly negative of all of those people. He's a different guy. So, of course, he's going to be viewed differently. Most of the folks who support Trump do not like Oprah Winfrey, Al Sharpton, or Jesse Jackson. So that just shows you he's a different guy. It doesn't matter if you favor him or you dislike him, but you have to admit he has different principles than he did back in the 80s and 90s. He's not the same guy. Looking in the comments, he doesn't need them anymore. Yikes. You're suggesting the man is an opportunity. Yeah, probably. Most politicians are. People too focus on the narrative rather than the facts because the narrative has power. The narrative is always going to have power. You look at someone like Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke, or did he run for governor or whatever in Texas? Didn't win, but the narrative coming from Beto O'Rourke was, you're damn right, we're going to take away your AR-15. The actual fact is that's highly unlikely that he was going to succeed at that. Highly unlikely. But what do folks bring up when Beto O'Rourke's name comes up? He wants to take away everybody's guns. We always pay attention to the narrative as opposed to the facts. That's not something unusual. You know, how many folks said Obama was going to turn America into a socialist country? That's a narrative. That's damn nowhere near a fact. That was not going to happen. So the narrative versus fact, narratives will always win. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Looking in the comments, that's BS. He was about limitations, says Hector Cantu. Well, when it comes to the Second Amendment, folks who support the Second Amendment view limitations as a synonym to completely taking away the Second Amendment. They don't support any limitation because they believe any limitation of gun rights is a stepping stone towards taking them all away. Going back to the box, asking the question briefly. was the potential impeachment, which McCarthy is now looking into an inquiry in regards to impeaching President Biden. Is that a legitimate impeachment if Biden gets impeached, or is it based on revenge, or perhaps a combination of both? Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Country Hound Dog. Rain here. Hopefully we can keep the program going. I'm sitting in what amounts to a serious thunderstorm. Country Hound Dog, good afternoon.
How's it going, handsome? Did you find out anything?
It's going all right.
Did you find out anything more on the Nixon versus Gerald stuff?
Say that again.
Did you find out anything more on the